The vast council chamber of the Galactic Alliance trembled with nervous energy. Ambassador Crix, a tall reptilian being from the Scaled Worlds, stood before the assembly of 100 different species. His claws clicked against the metallic podium as he prepared to share the most disturbing discovery in galactic history. Esteemed members, Crix began, his voice carrying across the chamber through universal translators. 3 cycles ago, our deep space monitoring station detected something unprecedented from the human sector. At first, we thought it was a new weapon system. The energy patterns were unlike anything in our databases. The holographic display behind him flickered to life, showing wave patterns that made several delegates physically recoil. The patterns moved in rhythmic pulses, creating complex harmonies that seemed to defy the mathematical order the galaxy had always known. Commander Vex, head of the Alliance military forces, leaned forward. His 4 eyes narrowed as he studied the data. These frequencies, they penetrate our standard shields. Our test subjects exposed to these waves showed immediate psychological changes. Increased aggression in some species, complete paralysis in others. The human ambassador, a middle-aged man named John, sat quietly in his designated area. He seemed oddly calm while the rest of the assembly grew increasingly agitated. His assistant Maria whispered something in his ear, and he nodded slowly. The humans call it music, Crix continued, pronouncing the word as if it were dangerous. According to our intelligence, every human settlement broadcasts these weapon frequencies constantly. They have thousands of variations, rock, classical, jazz, each one more terrifying than the last. A collective gasp echoed through the chamber. The delicate crystalline beings from the glass nebula actually cracked slightly from the stress. The gelatinous blob coalition rippled with fear. "Show them the worst one," Vex commanded. Crix hesitated. "Are you certain?" "The medical teams are standing by, but I cannot guarantee." "Show them." The hologram shifted, and suddenly the thunderous opening of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony filled the chamber. The effect was immediate and catastrophic. Half the delegates fled their seats. The insectoid races began secreting defensive pheromones. The energy beings flickered and dimmed. John stood up slowly, raising his hand. The music stopped. "If I may address the council," he said, his voice steady and calm. The assembly turned to him with a mixture of fear and fascination. How could he stand there, unaffected by his own species' weapon? "What you call a weapon, we call art," John explained. "Music has been part of human culture for thousands of years. We use it to express emotions, tell stories, celebrate, mourn, and yes, sometimes to motivate ourselves in battle." "You admit it's a battle weapon?" Vex accused. John smiled slightly. "Commander, have you ever wondered why humans, despite being one of the newest species in the Alliance, adapted so quickly to galactic society? Why we can work alongside species that would terrify most others?" The room fell silent. "It's because we've been practicing harmony our entire existence. Music taught us that different notes, different rhythms, different instruments can come together to create something beautiful. What you fear is simply our way of understanding the universe." Maria stepped forward, pulling out a small device. "With your permission, I'd like to demonstrate something." The assembly tensed, but Crix nodded cautiously. She played a soft lullaby, gentle and soothing. To everyone's surprise, the stressed delegates began to relax. The cracked crystalline beings started to resonate pleasantly. The energy beings grew brighter. "This is also music," Maria said. "We have songs for every emotion, every situation. Yes, we have war songs that make us brave. But we also have songs that make us peaceful, loving, cooperative." The council exchanged uncertain glances. They had discovered something about humanity that changed everything. These beings hadn't developed a weapon. They had developed something far more powerful. They had found a way to weaponize harmony itself, to turn sound into a tool that could manipulate the very fabric of emotion across species barriers. And the most terrifying part? The humans thought it was beautiful. 3 weeks had passed since the council meeting, and the galaxy faced a crisis far greater than human music. The Void Hunters were coming. Captain Tom stood on the bridge of the experimental station, orbiting the dead moon of Kepler-7. His crew of 30 humans and twice as many alien observers watched the tactical display with growing dread. The Void Hunter's scout ship appeared as a black wound in space, absorbing all light and energy around it. They'll reach the populated systems in 6 days, Admiral Crix announced over the communication channel. The reptilian had been promoted after proposing this desperate plan. Captain Tom, the Alliance Council has approved your proposal. You may begin the musical defense protocol. Tom nodded to his communications officer, Lisa. She had spent the last week creating what she called a combat playlist, a concept that terrified and fascinated their alien observers in equal measure. Remember, Tom addressed his mixed crew, the Void Hunters feed on fear and despair. They've destroyed 12 civilizations by draining their will to fight. But humans have something different. We have songs that make us stronger. The insectoid observer, nicknamed Bug by the human crew, chittered nervously. Captain, our species finds your music painful. How can pain make you stronger? Tom smiled. Not all music is painful, Bug. Lisa, start with something gentle. Let's show them what music really means to humans. The speakers came alive with a soft piano melody, Clair de Lune by Debussy. The effect on the human crew was immediate. Their shoulders relaxed, their breathing deepened. But more surprisingly, the alien observers began responding too. Bug's wings stopped their anxious buzzing. The crystalline being called Crystal began humming along, creating harmonics that enhanced the melody. Void Hunter Scout is charging weapons, the tactical officer announced. Switch to track 2, Tom commanded. The gentle piano faded, replaced by thundering drums and electric guitars. AC/DC's Thunderstruck exploded through the station. The human crew straightened, their eyes sharpening with focus and determination. Even the peaceful herbivore species among the observers felt something stir within them. Not fear, but something else. Courage? Defiance? Captain, the sensor operator Mike, called out, his voice excited. The Void Hunter ship. It's hesitating. Their energy absorption rate is dropping. Tom activated the external speakers, broadcasting the music into space itself. Maximum volume. All channels. The music hit the Void Hunter Scout like a physical force. The black ship shuddered, its perfect light-absorbing hull rippling with confusion. These beings had never encountered anything like this. They fed on negative emotions, on silence and despair. But this was pure, aggressive joy. It was humans screaming their existence into the void and daring it to scream back. Switch genres every 30 seconds, Tom ordered. Keep them off balance. Classical morphed into hip-hop. Hip-hop became country. Country transformed into electronic dance music. Each change sent new ripples through the Void Hunter's hull. The alien observers watched in amazement as the human crew moved with each rhythm, some dancing, others simply nodding their heads, all of them radiating an energy that seemed impossible. Crystal suddenly spoke, her voice like wind chimes. Captain, I understand now. The music ... it's not a weapon. It's your life force. You're sharing your emotional energy with the universe. The Void Hunter Scout began retreating, its movements erratic and confused. But as it fled, something extraordinary happened. Where its hull had rippled from the music's impact, tiny points of light appeared. The absolute darkness was developing cracks, and through those cracks, Color was seeping in. "My God," Lisa whispered, "we're not destroying it. We're healing it?" Admiral Crick's voice crackled over the comb. "Captain Tom, what's happening?" "The Void Hunter is transmitting something. Is that a response?" "Indeed, from the retreating." Scout came a sound, weak, uncertain, but unmistakable. A single pure note, held for several seconds before fading. "They're trying to sing," Tom said quietly. "After eons of silence and darkness, they're trying to make music." The implications hit everyone simultaneously. The Void Hunters weren't destroyers by choice. They were beings of emptiness, searching the universe for something to fill their silence. They had consumed civilizations not out of malice, but out of a desperate hunger for the emotions and sounds they couldn't create themselves. "Sir," Mike reported, "the main Void Hunter fleet has stopped advancing. They're waiting." Tom looked at his crew, human and alien alike. "Prepare the full playlist, everything we've got. We're going to teach the darkness how to sing." Bug clicked. His mandibles and what the humans had learned was laughter. Only humans would face the destroyer of civilizations and decide to start a band with them. Lisa grinned as she queued up thousands of songs from Earth's complete musical history. "Welcome to humanity's greatest weapon, Mug. We call it friendship through music." The test had succeeded beyond their wildest dreams. Now came the real challenge, converting an entire fleet of cosmic destroyers into the galaxy's newest music fans. The main Void Hunter fleet hung in space like a massive storm cloud, 300 ships of pure darkness blocking out the stars. Every military vessel in the Galactic Alliance had gathered at the border of inhabited space, but their weapons were powered down. Instead, massive speakers had been mounted on every hull, and human sound engineers worked frantically to connect them all into one enormous sound. System. Captain Tom stood in the command center of the newly designated concert ship Earth's Pride, surrounded by representatives from every Alliance species. The past 4 days had been a whirlwind of preparation. Musicians from Earth had been transported here, along with every musical instrument humanity had ever created. "The frequency. Analyzers are ready," reported Dr. Lee, the lead scientist. "Each species responds to different sound frequencies. We've mapped them all." Admiral Crick nodded, his scales shifting to a purple hue that indicated deep thought. "The crystalline beings resonate best with electronic music at high frequencies. The aquatic species respond to low bass tones and whale songs. And the warrior races—" He paused, looking at Commander Vex. "Heavy metal." Vex growled with what might have been a smile. "Your heavy metal makes my blood sing for battle, but in a good way. Controlled, focused." Tom activated the fleet-wide communication. "All stations, this is Captain Tom. Today, we're not fighting a war. We're throwing the galaxy's first interspecies concert. Every ship will broadcast different music simultaneously, creating a wall of sound and emotion. Remember, the Void Hunters aren't our enemies. They're an audience that's been waiting in silence for eons." A human musician, Alex, a famous DJ from Earth, connected his equipment to the alien technology. "This is the ultimate mixing lord," he said with excitement. "I can blend music from 300 ships into one massive symphony." The Void Hunter fleet began moving forward slowly, their dark ships pulsing with an hungry energy. They had sent no communication except for those few musical notes from their scout ship, but their intent was clear. They wanted more. "Begin Operation Concert," Tom commanded. It started softly. A single violin from Earth's Pride, playing a haunting melody. Then, ship by ship, layer by layer, the music built. The crystalline being's ship broadcast pure electronic beats that made their hulls glow like disco balls. The Aquatic Alliance mixed whale songs with deep, orchestral bass that vibrated through space itself. The warrior species vessels unleashed a barrage of drums and electric guitars, death metal and war chants from a dozen different planets. But Alex, the human DJ, wove it all together, finding the harmony in chaos. The rhythm and diversity. The effect on the Void Hunters was immediate and spectacular. Their dark ships began to pulse with the beat, their hulls rippling like liquid. Colors started appearing, first as tiny spots, then spreading like paint on black canvas. Blues, reds, greens, purples, emotions made visible through sound. My God, Lisa breathed. They're dancing. The ships are dancing. Indeed, the Void Hunter fleet had begun moving in rhythm, their formations shifting and swirling in time with the music. What had been an attack formation became a massive space ballet. Bug, the insectoid observer, began generating his own sounds, a chittering rhythm that somehow perfectly complemented the electronic beats. I feel it, he exclaimed. The music, it connects us all. I understand human emotion now. Crystal, the crystalline being, resonated so intensely that she became a living light show. This is beyond communication, she sang, her voice adding to the symphony. This is unity. The lead Void Hunter ship, larger than all others, moved forward. Its hull was now completely transformed, swirling with colors that had no names in any language. From its core came a sound, not the weak note from before, but a powerful bass tone that shook every ship in both fleets. They're joining in, Tom said, tears streaming down his face. After who knows how many millennia of silence, they're making music. Alex quickly adjusted his mixing board, incorporating the Void Hunter's contribution. Their deep, resonant tones became the foundation, the baseline upon which everything else built. The galaxy had found its newest musicians, and they had been worth the wait. Commander Vex, the stern military leader, was headbanging to the metal tracks, his 4 eyes closed in pure joy. If this is war, he shouted over the music, I never want peace. The concert continued for 6 hours. By the end, the Void Hunter fleet had completely transformed. Their ships sparkled with all the colors of the emotional spectrum, and their music had evolved from simple notes to complex harmonies. As the last chord faded into space, a voice spoke from the lead Void Hunter ship. It was ancient, deep, and filled with an emotion that transcended species. Thank you, it said simply. We have been empty for so long. You have filled our silence with something beautiful. We wish to learn more. We wish to create more. Will you teach us? Tom smiled and responded for all of humanity, for all of the Alliance. Welcome to the band. The council chamber looked different now. Where once there had been fear and suspicion, there was now curiosity and wonder. The Void Hunter representative stood at the center, no longer a creature of darkness, but a being of swirling colors that shifted with every emotion. I am called the Silent One, the being spoke, its voice like a deep cello. Though perhaps that name no longer fits. For eons, my people have wandered the universe in hunger, not for food or power, but for something we couldn't name. We consumed civilizations hoping to find it, but they only had fear to give us. It made us darker, hungrier, emptier. John, the human ambassador, stood beside the Silent One. The council needs to understand, he said. The Void Hunters weren't evil. They were just incomplete. Like an instrument without strings, a song without notes. The Silent One's form rippled with what the humans had learned was gratitude. When we encountered human music, we felt something we had no word for. You call it joy. We consumed fear because it was the only emotion strong enough to reach us through our silence. But your music it didn't just reach us. It filled us. Admiral Crix stepped forward. You destroyed 12 civilizations. Billions of lives lost. How can we simply forgive that? We cannot undo our past, the Silent One responded. colors dimming to deep blues and purples. Sadness, the humans recognized. But we can dedicate our future to creation rather than destruction. Your human friends have proposed something remarkable. Maria, John's assistant, activated a holographic display. The Void Hunters have a unique ability. They can absorb and amplify emotional energy. What if, instead of fear, they amplified joy, hope, love? They could become the galaxy's greatest therapeutic tool. Bug chittered excitedly. You mean they could help species overcome trauma? Depression? The psychological scars of war? More than that, the Silent One added. We can sense the emotional resonance of all beings. We could create music specifically designed to heal each species' unique psychological needs. The humans have shown us that music can be medicine. Commander Vex, who had been skeptical, suddenly straightened. My people, the warrior caste, we struggle with battle rage syndrome after conflicts. Traditional treatments barely work. But when I heard your heavy metal music, I felt ... controlled power. Channeled aggression. It helped. Exactly. Tom entered the chamber, still in his captain's uniform. The Void Hunters want to give back to the galaxy. They're proposing to work with human musicians and healers from all species to create a new form of therapy. Music designed not just to entertain, but to heal. The Silent One's form suddenly burst into brilliant golden light. But first, we must prove ourselves. There is a dead system, 7 planets stripped of life by our hunger centuries ago. We wish to restore it. Impossible, Crystal chimed. Those worlds are completely barren. No atmosphere, no water, no life. Not impossible, the Silent One replied. We took the life force from those worlds. We still carry it within us. With human music to guide us, we can give it back. We can sing those worlds back to life. The chamber fell silent. The concept was beyond anything they had imagined. John smiled. Think about it. Every culture has creation myths where the universe is sung into existence. What if that's not myth, but memory? What if sound, vibration, music? What if these are the fundamental forces of creation? 3 days later, the entire Alliance fleet gathered at the dead system. 7 gray, lifeless planets orbited a dim star. The Void Hunter fleet, now calling themselves the Silence Breakers, surrounded the first planet. Human musicians were aboard each ship, ready to guide the process. Begin. The Symphony of Restoration, the Silent One commanded. What followed was beyond description. The Silence Breakers began to sing, not with voices, but with their entire beings. The music was visible, streams of color and light flowing from their ships to the dead world below. The human musicians added their own contributions, weaving melodies that guided the energy, shaped it, gave it purpose. The planet's surface began to crack, not with destruction, but with life. Water burst from beneath ancient stone. Atmospheric gases swirled into being. The gray dust transformed into soil. In 6 hours, what had been a dead rock became a world ready for life. This is just the beginning, the Silent One said to the amazed assembly. We have 12 civilizations worth of life force to return. But we won't just restore what was lost. With human music and the unity of all species, we'll create something better. Bug summed up what everyone was thinking. The destroyers have become creators. Only humans could have imagined this outcome. We didn't imagine it, John replied. We just did what humans do best. We shared our music and made some new friends. The Alliance had gained not just new members, but powerful healers. The Silence Breakers had found their purpose, and humanity had proven that sometimes the best weapon against darkness is to teach it how to sing. 1 year later, Earth's atmosphere blazed with hundreds of different ship designs as delegates from every corner of the galaxy descended toward the planet's surface. The Australian outback had been transformed into the largest amphitheater ever constructed, with acoustic technology that could accommodate beings who heard through water, air, vibration, or pure energy. John stood on the main stage with Maria, watching the final preparations for the first Galactic Music Festival. Above them, the silence breakers had arranged themselves in orbit, their ships now permanently transformed into living instruments, each one unique in color and tone. Nervous? Maria asked, adjusting her translator to pick up the multitude of new musical terms that had been created in the past year. Excited, John replied. Look at them all. The audience was beyond diverse. Crystalline beings had grown special resonance chambers to better appreciate bass frequencies. The aquatic species had developed portable water spheres that let them float above the ground while maintaining their acoustic environment. Even the warrior species had brought their younglings, eager to share this new discovery with the next generation. The Silent One materialized on stage, its form now a permanent aurora of colors. The restored worlds and their gratitude. It announced. 7 dead systems now bloom with life, their ecosystems singing in harmony. But today isn't about the past. It's about the future. A small human girl named Emma walked onto the stage, carrying a simple wooden recorder. Behind her, young beings from every species followed, a small crystalline child chiming softly, an insectoid youngling with tiny drums made from shed carapace, a warrior child with a stringed instrument designed for claws. These are the first. Students of the Galactic Music Academy, the Silent One announced proudly. They've been learning together for 6 months. Today, they'll show us what unity sounds like. Emma raised her recorder and played the first notes of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Simple, ancient, a melody that human children had learned for centuries. But as she played, the other children joined in, each adding their own species interpretation. The crystalline child created harmonics that made the simple tune shimmer. The insectoid added a rhythm that transformed it into something almost jazz-like. The warrior child's strings provided a countermelody that was both fierce and beautiful. The audience was transfixed. Parents of every species watched their children creating something together that none could have imagined alone. Bug wiped at his compound eyes with 4 different arms. Commander Vex's stern expression cracked into what his species considered a wide grin. And now, the Silent One announced, the premiere of the first composition created jointly by all member species of the Galactic Alliance, including the Silence Breakers. We call it the Song of Becoming. The performance that followed redefined what music could be. It began with silence, the Silence Breakers' contribution, showing that quiet was not empty, but pregnant with possibility. Then came the human heartbeat, steady and strong. Layer by layer, each species added their voice. The crystallines sang in light frequencies that painted aurora across the sky. The aquatics provided deep currents of sound that observers could feel in their bones. The warriors brought percussion that spoke of strength used to protect rather than destroy. Alex, the DJ who had mixed the first concert of war, now conducted this symphony of peace. His equipment had evolved too, incorporating alien technology that let him blend not just sound but emotion, color, even gravitational waves into the performance. The music told the story of the past, fear transforming into understanding, silence becoming song, enemies becoming family. When it reached its crescendo, something miraculous happened. Every being in the audience began contributing their own sound, their own voice. 1,000,000 different tones, yet somehow, impossibly, in perfect harmony. As the last note faded, Emma, the little girl with the recorder, spoke into the microphone. My teacher says music is the language everyone speaks, but nobody needs to learn. I think that means we're all in the same band. We just didn't know it until now. The Silent One moved to the center of the stage, its form blazing with every color. At once, a year ago, we came to consume. Instead, we learned to create. The humans didn't defeat us with their music. They completed us with it. And in doing so, they completed the galaxy. John looked out at the crowd, millions of beings each. So different, yet all connected by invisible threads of melody and rhythm. This is just the beginning, he said. Every world will have its own music schools. Every species will contribute new instruments, new styles, new ways of thinking about sound. And maybe, just maybe, when we meet the next unknown threat from beyond our galaxy, we won't reach for weapons. We'll reach for instruments. The festival continued for 7 days and nights. When it ended, the galaxy had been forever changed. Music was no longer just humanity's gift to the stars. It had become the heartbeat of civilization itself, proof that harmony wasn't just possible, it was the natural state of the universe. And in schools across 1,000 worlds, young beings of every species learned their first song the same way, with a simple human melody about twinkling stars, played on instruments designed for tentacles, claws, energy fields, and yes, human hands too. The melody that had once terrified the galaxy had become its lullaby. Asterisk.